Hey good people, Arthur Morris here, and in this video we're going to solve a radical equation or radical equations that simplifies into a quadratic equation, one radical basic. So these radical equations will simplify to a quadratic equation, and then we'll have to find the solutions from there. So remember, the quadratic equation means that we're going to have a variable squared in the solution, or that it simplifies to be, and then we'll have to find a solution or solutions. And it's especially important that you check your solutions back into the original problem when you're solving this type of problem. Okay, so let's get started here. So we have x equals the square root of 6x plus 16. All right, so the radical is isolated. Now we want to clear the radical by squaring both sides. Okay, so now we have x squared equals 6x plus 16. And then from here, we want everything on one side, and we want that x squared to stay positive, so we need to move the 6x and the 16 over to the left-hand side. Now, since both of them are positive, the 6x and the 16, I'm going to subtract both of them over to the left-hand side. So I would have x squared minus 6x minus 16, and since I subtracted everything away, that'll be equal 0. So let me come over here and show you what I did. So x squared minus 6x minus 16, everything cancels out, equals 0. All right, so from here we need to solve this quadratic equation, and you can solve by factoring, which is probably the only method that we've learned so far. You can solve this by factoring. So to factor this, let's see here, we want to find, we have 1 times negative 16, so we want to find factors of negative 16. That gives us a sum of negative 6. So we know that one of the factors, the factor with the larger absolute value, must be negative. So um, 1 and negative 16 would give us a sum of negative 15. 2 and negative 8 will give us a sum of negative 6. So that's what we're looking for, those two factors. So I can come over here and factor this out. Remember, we make parentheses, two sets of parentheses. So x minus 8 times x plus 2. Now after we factor, we set each factor equal to 0. And solve. So add 8 to each side. So x could be equal to positive 8. Or subtract 2 from each side. X could be equal to negative 2. Now, again, it's important that you check these solutions because sometimes either one solution will be true or sometimes both will be true. So let's go back in and check these solutions. So I have my original problem. I'm going to check it over here. I have my original problem of x equals the square root of 6x plus 16. All right, so let's check x equals 8. So we're going to check x equals 8 first. So everywhere that I see an x, I'm going to replace it with 8. And then see if this is true. So we have 6 times 8 is 48, and 48 minus 16 is 32. Oh, sorry about that. 48 plus 16, that's a plus. 48 plus 16 is 64. And the square root of 64 is 8. So equals 8 checks out. So that is a valid solution. All right. Now we also need to check the other solution. So again, our original equation. we need to check x equals -2. So everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with -2. Well, I can stop here because remember, we cannot take the square root of anything and get a negative result. So this square root of this cannot be equal to -2. So I know that that is not a valid solution. So my only solution for this one, only valid solution, is +8, x equals 8. So make sure you check your solutions. So even if I continue to work through this, that will give me -12 plus 16, which is +4, and the square root of 4, +4 is +2. So that does not work. All right, let's try another one. All right, so here we have the square root of x plus 30 equals x, and the radical is already isolated. I want to square both sides, and I'm going to go ahead and flip everything around since I know I'm squaring both sides, and I want my x squared to be on the left-hand side there. Really doesn't matter. So let's square both sides. And that gives me x squared equals x plus 30. So again, I need to subtract x, subtract 30 from both sides. So I don't have any like terms, so that's x squared minus x minus 30 equals 0. And then we need to factor. So I have 1 times -30, so I want to find factors of -30. That gives me a sum of, understood to be -1 in the middle there, sum of -1. So again, I need a positive and a negative factor since I'm trying to find factors of -30. So -6 times +5 equals -30. -6 plus +5 equals -1. So -6 and 5 will be those factors that I'm looking for. So x minus 6 times x plus 5 equals 0. All right, set your two factors equal to 0. And solve. So add 6 to both sides. Subtract 5 from both sides. Again, it's important to check your solutions. So we're going to check our solution here back in the original equation. So let's start off by checking the x equals 6. So everywhere that I see an x, I'm replacing it with 6. So 6 plus 30 is 36. The square root of 36 is 6. So that's true. So x equals 6 is a solution, a valid solution. And then let's check -5. So again, we run up against that rule where the square root of this is isolated on one side. Everything is underneath the square root symbol on the left-hand side, and it's telling me that it's equal to a negative number, which is not possible. So again, -5 would not be a valid solution, and my only valid solution for this problem would be 6. Now, sometimes, again, make sure you check your answer. Sometimes you will have one valid solution or two valid solutions, or maybe even no solutions. So make sure you check your solutions. Alrighty, good people. I hope you found this video to be helpful. Thank you.